So now that I've got these documents in here and we're ready to get started with some remediation, what I'll do is I'll click on the thumbnail here for this document. This is a very simple document on its face. I promise it takes me about 30 seconds at the most to remediate it using Equidox, but there's a lot of stuff that is kind of universal about this document. So things that we talk about with this PDF are really applicable to virtually every document you'll ever work on using Equidox. So there's plenty to talk about just within these 2 pages that will be applied to everything that you do moving forward. Okay, so when I clicked on that thumbnail, I'm now at the document detail page, and here I can see the file name right up here. I have a search feature that I'm able to filter, or I'm able to search for a specific page. So it's not super valuable in this case because I only have 2 pages, and I could just click on either thumbnail and go directly to those pages. But if you have a 200 pager and you know that you need to get to like page 173, you can just type in that number into this field and it will take you to that page. You don't have to scroll through hundreds of pages. I have a button to directly export this back to a PDF. I won't press that right now because I haven't done anything to it yet. I can also share the document. So if I wanted to ask other people to help me with this file for whatever reason, I can. Keep in mind that Equidox is collaborative. So you don't have to install anything on your computer. It's all web-based. You can have people that are in totally different locations working on the same document, even simultaneously. So if you had like a super high priority big document, maybe it's 200 pages, maybe 4 of your best remediators each take a 50-page section of it, and you can get through it in 25% of the time versus one person having to, clear their calendar and kind of panic all day as they try to rush through pages. So just keep that in mind that you can share the document with other users or other groups of users. So groups is another thing that's kind of up to the administrators to establish. I can, of course, delete the document, but I won't do that right now. I'm not going to remove anything out of Equidox. I'm just going to leave this alone. But if you ever needed to take something out of Equidox just to clean things up, maybe you want to minimize the amount of documents that you're storing inside of it, you can delete things at your leisure. There's no maximum number of documents, though, so don't worry if you're like importing documents for a year straight. They can live inside of Equidox. It's not a problem. You can always just keep them there and revert back to them at a later date. Down below, you'll see some basic properties of the document. One thing I want to call out, because this is something that's so often overlooked, especially by people that might be new to accessibility, the document title. So if you notice, the document title that's been set here is the exact same as the file name. So what happens is many times when people are creating documents, they don't remember or they don't know that they're supposed to set a document title. And if you don't have a document title, it's an automatic failure for accessibility. Virtually every accessibility checker in the world will flag a document that doesn't have a title for being inaccessible. So Equidox knows this, and in an effort to avoid you falling into that trap, at the very least, it's going to take the file name and it's going to plug it into the document title field for you. So this is only for documents that don't already have a title set, which I would say is probably 90% of them from my experience. Now, you're not limited, though, to this title. You can always update and enhance it. So I always mention this because a lot of times I see file names that have a really crazy naming convention. They'll be using serial numbers and acronyms and things that don't really make any sense, especially when hearing it read through a screen reader. So you can always just update your document title, making sure that you're putting like spaces between words. You don't need the .pdf file extension at the end. You can always clean up your title to just make it something that's clean and clear and descriptive of what the content of the document is. An author is optional. You don't have to add an author if you don't want, but it is something that you can do. And then also the English language attribute is going to automatically be set for you. Now you can also set other language attributes, of course. It just depends on the document. So if you have like a Spanish document for a Spanish class, or maybe, an information packet for foreign exchange students or something like that, you can set the language attribute to match the language of the document. This will trigger the screen reader to read from the correct library of words so that it will read a French or a Spanish or a Mandarin Chinese document with the correct cadence. It'll then be able to pronounce all of the words correctly. By default, it's set to English, so you don't have to worry about it in the majority of cases. But anytime you leave the English language, you can always just hit the drop-down menu and find the appropriate language. If you make changes to your properties, either like the title or the language attribute, just make sure you hit the save button.